Hello everybody, Jayma Malme here with a creative design team collaboration video. We are focusing on Christmas in July this month, which is super fun because I'm way behind on my 2022 December daily. So I am going to document a page from there, and I'm going to show you how to take a one-page layout and create the companion page. So I have a few pages done from last year's. I've got 1 through 3, and then I skipped to day 11. So I've got 4 pages done. Today I'm going to create the companion page for this. Now I'm not necessarily creating 2-page spreads because I'm viewing these as individual pages, individual days, but I do want the ones that are next to each other to coordinate, so at least they sort of have the same look and feel since they're on the same spread. So this was doing little gingerbread pizzas, super fun. So what I've done was I pulled out the same papers. We've got, this is from a mix-in from a few years ago. We've got this from Jingle Joy a few years ago, and this is from a zip strip from last year's Christmas story. So if you have this collection from last year, this was one of the fun zip strips that you can use. So my photo for today is actually 6 photos, and I've collaged them onto a 4x6. I considered cutting them apart and having 6 2x2 photos, but I decided that I would just leave them on here. I thought that it looked nice, and I can use one of the sketches from the creative design team's 6x8 sketchbook. Now this was from last year to help us and help you. We have this available for sale as a digital download. It's a super useful 6x8 sketchbook, but I had mine bound and everything to make it really easy to just grab and look through as I'm working on December daily, and it has proven very useful. So I decided to use this right here. This was from a sketch in this book too. And the reason I was drawn to this one is, first of all, we've got my 4x6 photo. Now I could have printed my collage going landscape too if I wanted to, but I wanted to use this sketch, so I chose to print it portrait orientation. And I do have a tutorial on my channel on how to collage your photos in several different ways. So I'll link to a couple of videos down below showing you how to do that. All right, so I was drawn to this one because we've got the red going across the top and the bottom here. And even though this is like a whole background, it has a strip here and here that I thought would work well with this and will just kind of carry across. And then this piece here is what I've already cut my little tree paper to be. So it'll be like this, and then I'll put a little mat, a white mat on this photo, and then I'm actually going to use this older die. This has a little stitched border. I don't think this is available anymore, but this was a fun border die set, and I'm just going to die cut this to create the little ruffled edge on here. And then we can do some embellishing. Now these embellishments are just to give you an idea of where embellishments can go. You don't have to use stars, obviously. And then the circles are to represent the day. So my day is 12, and I have been using this Moxie alphabet in here, so I'm going to continue doing that. And I've used the black core cardstock, which is a real thick cardstock, and I've embossed in gold. So I stamped it in Versamark and then embossed it in a gold, like a gold glitter embossing powder. And so that's what I'm using throughout my book. And then I've got a few little die cuts here that I already had prepared. I have a whole bin for December daily, and I just have kept it, and I'm going to keep it for next year, or this year, later this year, to keep me organized. And I'll link to a video down below as well where I showed you my organization and plans for this project. I am hoping to have this all wrapped up and do a flip through well before 2023 December daily comes around, so that is something to look forward to. Just wanted to show you what the Moxie alphabet looks like. If you're interested, there are a few left, the website says. This is the stamp set, and then these are the dies, and I just love that it creates that border, so it really makes those numbers pop. And there's even punctuation on here, punctuation, numbers, letters. I love this set. I also pulled out this Seas and Greetings winter stamp set, and I already had, I was happy to find this little snowman stamped. So I'm just going to color him, and then I can die cut him out. And I thought that that would be cute to go along with this little ornament for our first Christmas. This is some of my favorite ornaments that I took last year, just to kind of document the ones that are special to me. And so that is what this page is all about. And I thought that that snowman would be really cute. And then I also pulled some markers so that I could color him exactly like these snowmen. So I used my color chart that I have for Spectrum Noir. I've got all my swatches on here. So I chose the dark red to match the scarf, the burnt orange to match the noses, and I'm gonna do a little bit of true blue with ice blue mixed to get that kind of turquoisey blue color for the hat. You definitely could just do one or the other. In fact, the ice blue might even work just fine. So anyways, you can do it whatever you want, but those are what I chose. And then I've got the colorless blender, and I'll get the gray. I like using the ice gray blend, the lightest one, and then blend it to color the snowman. So I will be doing that. So I've got everything prepared, so let's go ahead and just dive in.
First, I'm going to go ahead and get all of my base pages adhered together so that I can just go on to the embellishing. This page really comes together quite quickly, even with the coloring that I'm going to do, partially because I had prepared everything ahead of time for December daily. So it's really nice to have a lot of die cuts at hand and all of my Christmas stuff in one bin right next to me all together. And then the sketches that I'm using that are in that book also help to make this come together, because there's really no guesswork in deciding the sizes for your papers. You just cut them to what the sketchbook tells you and move on. The hardest part is just deciding which papers to use. So now we're going to color this little snowman, and I've sped this part up quite a bit. I ended up using the ice blue, and I thought I was going to go with just the mid-tone and the light, but then there wasn't enough difference in there on the hat, so I ended up going back and adding the darkest color as well. Next, I'm moving on to the ice gray blend, and this is basically just casting a shadow where I want it to be white, so the whole snowman. I probably could have done a little bit more shadow, but that's okay. It's not a huge deal, and a lot of this is actually going to be covered up in the end because I'm putting the numbers over him. But it just adds a little bit of a shadow by blending it out with the colorless blender, and then I used the medium and light burnt orange for the carrot nose, and then I ended up deciding to use the dark red blend around the little stitching, those little details on the hat, because there was no scarf like is in my ornament, so I had to add the red somewhere else. I went out of the lines a little bit, so what I did was take the colorless blender, and I'm trying to push that color out from outside of the lines back into the lines, and it kind of acts as an eraser. It doesn't get it perfect though, so I'm going to go back over it with a white gel pen once it dries. So now I'm going over the snowman with my clear shimmer brush to make it sparkle like snow in the sun. And now here is my white gel pen. I'm going back over those areas that I went out of the lines, and that just kind of makes it white to match the paper, and you hardly even notice. I wanted his little arms to be a little bit darker, so I went over them with a black Copic pen, and I wanted the buttons to be darker too, but I'm actually going to end up putting some black enamel dots on that. So let's get these die cuts done, and then we're going to assemble the rest of this page. So that border doesn't cut all the way to the bottom because it's designed to be able to make a continuous border. Like if I wanted this to be longer, I didn't need that though, so I'll just trim off those edges, and then we'll start adding our little cluster. The nice thing about these 6x8 pages is There's not a whole lot of embellishing to do. I do love a good embellishment cluster, so I am going to add quite a bit of little elements and die cuts to this little area, but we just have room for this one little embellishment cluster here. I'm embellishing it very similar to the other side with this Christmas Story card making die set, and this is not available anymore, but I know a lot of you ordered this last year because it sold out very quickly. It was definitely a bestseller last year. Everybody loves these little sprigs. I forgot to add my little border, so we're going to go ahead and add that, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere it down so I don't have to worry about that. I just put a little adhesive in a few places, and I'm going to fumble here just a little bit, use my tweezers to help me, and I'm really glad that I didn't have my adhesive all the way up to the edge on my photo, and that was on purpose because I didn't know if I was going to be tucking any embellishments under, so I'm glad that I left that so I could tuck that little border under, but I'm not going to tuck any other embellishments under. Notice that I moved my 12 down. I didn't like it kind of floating up there because of the design that I have with the snowman. So I've got him kind of covering and overlapping the snowman. And that's part of building a good embellishment cluster, is having everything kind of layered, things tucked underneath and layered on top. And I started with the biggest piece, which was the snowman, and then kind of tucking things underneath him, and then moved the 12 down on top of him to just kind of add to this one embellishment cluster and not have the number kind of up on its own up at the top. I decided to add a few little sprigs down to the bottom as well. These little pine sprigs you can just tear into two for little smaller pieces if you don't want them to be double. Now I'm using my favorite journal strip stickers for my journaling. I just had a little bit to say that these were my favorite and most special ornaments. So I just wrote that out, and then I'm going to snip them to size. You can overlap your photos so you don't have to just keep it over to that white space on the side. And that's one thing that's great about these journal strip stickers, or any journal strips in general. You don't have to use the stickers, but I just really love how handy they are. So I did use my T-square ruler to make sure they were straight, but my head was in the way pretty much the whole time, so I cut that out. Now I have a few of these gold star embellishments also left over from last year's Christmas Story embellishment pack. So I'm putting a few of those on the page, and then I'm going to bring in my black enamel dots. I love these because they're pretty flat. They don't add a lot of bulk, so that's perfect for these small pages because I don't like a lot of bulk in my 6x8 album. I'm going to add a few more enamel dots off screen and then adhere this off camera as well. And I used a combination of gluing straight to the page and thin 3D foam to also keep the dimension to a minimum, but I love the little bit of dimension that it adds. And here it is next to that other page. I realized I used a brighter red for these snowflakes, and so the glitter paper is a little bit different, but I ran out of the really bright red, so I'm gonna just have to be okay with that. And then I'm showing you here that I made a little list of all of the days that I have left to fill, so I know which photos to add to those pages. If you'd like to watch the process video for the left page, I've got that linked right here, as well as the Creative Design Team playlist, so you can see what the other girls have made. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.